Good morning, everybody. We have a lovely day here, and so today is the day I'm going to harvest these artichokes, and I'll tell you a little bit about their history, a little bit about how we can use them as food, and a little bit about how we can use them as medicine, and a couple of just one little warning about them. But before we get started, I just want to show you my tunic. If you look back a couple of weeks, I was doing a bit of knitting and I was doing a bit of sewing, and I just transformed this from a skirt into a little tunic. It's nice and lightweight to wear when I'm pottering around in the garden. So you can go back and have a look at that film if you would like to. So, Jerusalem artichokes. They're not from Jerusalem and they're not artichokes. They're actually a sunflower, Helianthus tuberosa. And it's tuberosa because of the tubers. That's the part of the plant that we're harvesting. That's the part of the plant that we eat and make medicine from. And these are naturally growing in North America. And in the early 17th century, 1612, I think, a Frenchman brought them back to Europe. The name Jerusalem is because as they're a sunflower, they turn to follow the sun, which all sunflowers do. And in Italian, it's Girasola. So it eventually became corrupted into Jerusalem. So when they made their way to England, they were presented to Queen Elizabeth I, who had them as a delicacy, and they had been cooked. It's amazing the difference in the way we prepare food. We would use these very much like a potato substitute, but in her day, they were boiled in wine with raisins and spices, and they were regarded as a queen's delicacy. But because they grow so prolifically, I mean, in here, I think I had about 6 little tubers, and they just keep spreading along and creating more tubers. And so they became very cheap, and in the end, even the poor people despised them because they were just so cheap. They're a very pretty flower and a lovely tall plant, so they can look really lovely in your garden anyway, but just be aware that they can spread, and I've got some popping up over there now purely by probably just tossing a tuber somewhere, and they've spread over there as well. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to harvest the tubers. I've got my fork here, but I think they're actually quite easy to just pull up. So let's give this one a try. Here we are, and here are the little tubers. So you can see from that how they can spread very easily. If you just wanted to grow them ornamentally, be careful where you put them, and if you want to grow them for food, again, work out how many of these you're likely to need for your family. So if you want to cook these, there's hundreds of different ways to cook and prepare them. You could just boil them like a potato. You can put them into soup. You can roast them. You can saute. You can bake. You can do everything. You can puree them. Some people puree them, the way you would a parsnip. So they're very flexible in the way that we can prepare them. Just kind of make sure that you get them all out when you're harvesting them, because, as I say, I had about half a dozen like this. Originally, I got them from one of my herb teachers up in Donegal, and she said, "Help yourself, take as many as you like." And I was thinking, no, I can't take that many. But she was right, because they do spread. So it's time. Oh, wow. Oh my goodness, look at all that in there. So I think I'm going to get a bumper harvest. If anybody out there is doing some homesteading or kind of planning a garden for possible times of shortages and scarcity, this is one of those plants that I would definitely recommend, because it's got a lot of vitamins and minerals and protein, and it's so prolifically easy to grow, and it will just keep multiplying. So in the Second World War time, people in Europe were growing this because of the shortages, and also because it's so versatile. You can prepare it in so many different ways. But in the end, everybody became absolutely sick of it because it was always there. It was so reliable that you could always find it to eat. And so that's its past reputation. It doesn't have any pests and it doesn't have any diseases, so you're always guaranteed a crop. Although it is a good idea to move from one bed to another after 2 or 3 years, just to ensure that the tubers will continue to grow as they're in the ground. Okay, so I've dug out most of them. I have a big basket here full of them, and this evening my brother's coming around for dinner, so we're going to try some boiled and pureed and some roasted. We'll see what they're like, but for now I'm going to go in and make some medicine. So come back into the house with me and we'll see. I'll tell you then what it is good for. Okay, so a great food. Remember, you can bake, boil, puree, put into soup, roast. The possibilities are endless, and it's nutritious. It's a survivor food, so it's worth putting into your garden, as I was saying. But for medicine, they have various qualities. So they are a cholagogue, which means they're going to help your liver produce more bile, and that's going to help with digestion. And they are also sialagogue, which means they're going to help with the flow of saliva, which means you begin to digest your food from the get-go, from the moment the food is in the mouth, if not before. They're antilithic. So that means if you have a stone anywhere, so if you have a stone in your salivary gland, if you have a stone in your kidneys, if you have a stone anywhere, this will help push it out and get rid of it. It's also a bitter herb, so again, it's going to be good for the digestion. What else? It's an alterative, or what used to be called a blood cleansing herb or plant. And it also is extremely good for the gut as a whole, because it helps to repair, it helps to build up the good bacteria, because it contains inulin. And inulin is, it's not something that you or I can digest, but the bacteria in your gut can digest. So it's a prebiotic. It's a prebiotic food for the bacteria in the gut. It's going to feed them and help those bacteria to be strong and healthy, which means your gut is strong and healthy, which means your immune system is strong and healthy. Look, there's a leaf cutter. He has been devouring our oak leaves. So anyway, I'll pop him back outside. There he goes. So, when I was outside, I did mention there is something to be wary of with these artichokes, and that is if you eat a lot of them, or if you have a delicate constitution in your digestive system, they can create a lot of foul and loathsome wind, to paraphrase Culpeper and Gerard, and old herbalists from the 16th and 17th centuries. So some people can't really tolerate them because they create so much wind. So when you take them in very small doses, that's not the case. So I have somebody in mind that this artichoke could help. So I'm going to prepare it in 2 different ways. I have a dehydrator here. So I'm going to slice it up and put it in the dehydrator, and then they can be nibbled on. The little slices can be nibbled on 1 or 2 a day. So it's a very small dose, but it will still put enough of the prebiotic into the gut to help the bacteria that's in there. And I'm also going to just tincture it. So I have a big jar here and I've got my vodka. So I'm going to do that now. Now, the other thing I'm not going to do for this medicine is I'm not going to wash them, because they've come out of the soil pretty clean. And when we're talking about the bifidobacteria in the gut, that can really be enhanced by the microbes in the soil as well. So there's no dirt on here, there's hardly any soil left on. They're clean enough, but I just think it's going to add to the potency. So I'm going to get started. So they're easy enough to try. You could eat them raw as well if you wanted to. I'll give it a little taste now in a second. Let's see. That is quite pleasant. Yeah, I could easily eat 1 or 2 of those little slices in a day. You could always flavour them up a little bit. Now I have this dehydrator here, but if you don't have one, you could just slice them up and leave them in a covered basket to dry, or you could thread them together and hang them up to dry. Okay, so I've chopped up enough artichoke to fill the dehydrator. Every little tray has artichokes on it. Pop the lid on and just turn it on. So they'll dry out in about 12 to 18 hours, depending. And I've got another batch here chopped up to make a tincture. But before I go any further, if there's anybody there going, ugh, she didn't wash them, I just want to reiterate that the microbes in the soil are incredibly beneficial for your gut health and therefore your immune health. And if you think about it, when we were all children, we were always scrabbling around in the earth, getting dirty, and it didn't do us any harm whatsoever. Whereas children today, where they're sanitized within an inch of their life, they have allergies, they have all kinds of complaints. So a little bit of soil left on these is definitely not going to hurt or harm anybody. Quite the opposite. And of course, soil itself is not dirty at all. Our soil, everything is organic. We don't spray, there's no chemicals, there's nothing harmful whatsoever in my garden. And so I'm very confident just chopping these up and popping them in. To make a tincture, I'm putting 2/3 into the jar, and then you cover it with your vodka or your alcohol. Just a little bit more. So that's it. The tincture is made. All I have to do is label it, and the other artichoke is sliced and drying in there for 12 to 18 hours, depending on how thick each little one is. And if you don't have one of these, string them up together or just dry them in a basket. And that's it. So what is not to love about artichokes? You get a beautiful display of sunflowers. Then you have a really nutritious food source. I mean, look at all we've got left here, with a very versatile food and medicine that's going to boost the gut health, cleanse the blood, make digestion easier, and just wonderful, really. So that's it. So if you don't have artichokes, I definitely recommend that you get some. Just be careful where you plant them so that they don't spread and take over. And I hope the rest of your week is lovely. So see you next Sunday. Bye for now. I hope you enjoyed today's film. If you did, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. And have a look at the website danusirishherbgarden.com for more information about us and about the herbal medicine courses I offer and the Wise Woman Way training. And if you go to the shop, you can find the books, the weed handbooks and other herbal goodies. And remember, we put a new film out every Sunday. So looking forward to seeing you next week.